People have been navigating the waters of the Great Lakes for over 12,000 years, and the lakes have claimed their share of ships. Hundreds of those shipwrecks are preserved within the Great Lakes' only national marine sanctuary in Thunder Bay.
I guess the thing I love about diving the most is it's just so quiet and peaceful. I mean, it's one of the best freshwater collection of shipwrecks anywhere in the world, and people don't know that.
Believe it or not, this is Lake Huron, just off of the coast of Alpena, Michigan, where the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration operates the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Stephanie Gondula is one of the sanctuary's maritime archaeologists.
The accessibility is what's really special about the collection of shipwrecks here in Thunder Bay. So we have super deep shipwrecks that are very intact with their masts standing upright 90 feet in the water column. And then we have the very shallow shipwrecks that are accessible to not just scuba divers, paddlers, kayakers, fishermen, snorkelers, sailors can go out and access these shipwrecks and visit these sites, even glass-bottom boat viewers.
The cold, fresh water of Lake Huron preserves almost 100 identified shipwrecks within the sanctuary's 4,300 square miles. Visitors can see the wrecks on the water and on land at the Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center, a museum that's part of the sanctuary.
You know, the fact that you have a federal resource like that with archaeologists and historians and that kind of knowledge and expertise there, they're teaching us about them. They're teaching us about what our way of life was back then.
A lot of the important work we do is, of course, on land. We do have our 10,000 square foot visitor center where we're at right now, where almost 100,000 people visit every year from all around the world. And we also do many outreach and educational events.
Nick Myers works as the captain of a dive boat that goes out to the wrecks. Today, he and some sanctuary staffers are helping students learn about diving and marine archaeology careers.
Well, our goal today is really allowing these kids to experience weightlessness and breathing underwater.
We're in our Science in the Sanctuary class for the high school, and we're doing our class for scuba diving, and we're learning how to do like underwater archaeology and all of the stuff that's going on like with the NOAA Center.
I was saying to somebody the other day, when I'm on this, my mask is always leaking because I can't stop smiling while I'm under the water watching these kids. I mean, it's just a blast to see them experience this. Most of them, you know, for the first time, even having a mask and fins on their feet.
After training in the pool, these students can move on to the nearby sanctuary waters, but they won't need to become expert divers to visit some of the wrecks. Some, like the Nordmeer, are barely below the surface.
The Nordmeer is the most recent shipwreck within sanctuary waters. It ran aground in 1966, and it was in such shallow water that for decades, much of it still stuck up above the surface of the water. Today, it has finally collapsed down just below the surface, and it is a wonderful snorkeling and scuba diving site. It's over 500 feet long, and it's about 30 plus feet wide, and so there's so much to see.
Diver and Toledo Blade videographer Andy Morrison has filmed and photographed the Nordmeer extensively.
You know, you can stand on the back of the boat, you can look down, you can see the engines, you jump in, you're on the engines, a lot of swim-throughs and swim-arounds and swim-overs and unders, and it's just a huge twisted steel playground for divers.
The writing of the name on the hull is still visible. The gauges you can still see, so the preservation makes it a really exciting site, even at a shallow depth.
The Monohansett is an older wreck that's also in shallow water.
The Monohansett is probably the most visited shipwreck within sanctuary waters.
It's an old wreck. It was built in 1872, burned to the waterline in 1907.
Now, they were a wooden ship, and they were carrying coal, and in the middle of the night, a lantern spilled over in the engine room, and of course there was a fire. The Monohansett burned to the waterline and sits there still today.
There's kind of a flattened hull. It's only in about 18 feet of water, I think, but the water most of the time is gin clear. There's a little bit of fish on it, There's a beautiful propeller on it that sticks up out of the sand. A lot of people like to take pictures there and video there and everything.
Older still, and a more advanced dive, is the E.B. Allen, which went down in 1871 and sits about 100 feet below the surface.
As you descend on the wreck, you can see the full outline of the ship's hull, beautiful wooden hull, and off the port bow, you can see the collision hole. And it's just big enough, if you have the training, to do a swim through and go through that collision hole, and then you're within the hull of the ship, you're inside the ship. And it's a great sight to just swim the whole length of this wooden schooner.
It sits upright, it's fairly intact. It has that classic looking, freighter bow, wooden freighter bow when you come down on it. And that's one thing I think that I don't think I'll ever get tired of seeing, is when you're descending on a shipwreck, and the E.B. Allen's one of those that's sort of like that. It stands tall, even though it's sitting 100 feet deep, but you can still see that it's a proud wreck, kind of a special wreck.
One of the key things that I think the sanctuary brought to the preservation of these shipwrecks is truly the awareness.
I think the people of Alpena are lucky to have the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary there, but I also think not just them, but the state of Michigan and the whole Great Lakes region is lucky to have NOAA there. So, it's really important that NOAA has a presence here in the Great Lakes.
There are dozens more shipwrecks in the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and the staff continues to map and research the wrecks. But there are shipwrecks in all of the Great Lakes, and we may soon have more national marine sanctuaries in the waters off of Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and New York.
The success that we have seen here in Alpena with Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary has inspired other communities around the Great Lakes to champion and nominate their communities for National Marine Sanctuary status. And we're really excited to be a part of that and to inspire this in other communities across the Great Lakes.
For more from Great Lakes Now, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on social media.